Hey, what's going on, guys? I just got monetized on X. Fucking stoked about it, but let me tell you a little bit about how I got there. It wasn't the easiest path. There's other people that have done it in 6 days. This actually took me, if I remember back to the first space where I started really focusing and kind of thinking like, hey, I could probably do this. It was probably a year and a half. I guess my goals, directions, and intentions with how I was going about it, I was kind of doing what I wanted to, thinking that if I just did a lot of that and I focused on these certain things, like people accounts and stuff like that within my niche that were doing well, I could get a little bit of that. Well, that wasn't the case. In all reality, there is a science to it. There is a method, strategy, whatever you want to call it. But there is a way to kind of hack the system, if you will. The main thing is you have to get to 5 million impressions within a 3-month span. Once you open up that floodgate, that's when you start getting paid. And your first paycheck is supposed to be one of your biggest because it has a lot of the backlog and all of the work that you've done, from what I hear. Don't know exactly, but that's what it sounds like. So I got my first check and it was a little over 1,500 bucks. And that's pretty dope because if I could do that every single month, getting, $1,500 checks, that'd be, like a full-time job for some people, part-time job, but it would definitely help a lot of areas. However, you can't rely on that. You have to understand that that will go down and you have to be consistent with engagements at this point. It's not as much as focused on impressions. So that's where it goes down to getting into the right communities, starting to learn, growth and how to build your account, your brand, and whatever you want to call it. So for me, I built SMS. I built Solana Made Simple. I use crypto niche. I use sports, and I use commenting on food. Honestly, was the couple things that worked the best for me. For the most part, I always talked about crypto. Always talked about just what I was doing and building in that niche area. Sometimes you forget that it's an echo chamber, and the best thing to do is get out of that. Start expanding and check out X for all of the people that are on there. There's so many different areas, so many different communities, so many different things to tap into, and it will mess up your algorithm if you're really worried about what comes through your feed. While you're growing and building, I don't think that that's a biggest concern until you get to those benchmarks, and then you start to kind of like hone into your own lane and really grow there. So for me, I was fortunate enough to consistently have a lot of engagement, not the most impressions. So I wasn't getting as much, I guess, reach, but I was getting a lot of people interacting with my posts and stuff like that. Once I started turning it into talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, commenting on all the sports pages, started following food things, talking about my opinions, what you should add to them, all of that kind of stuff. Just sometimes controversial, cringy kind of takes, stuff that's going to make people react. Using AI and just doctoring up photos and stuff like that. Just having fun on the internet is really all it takes because it gets people over there following trending topics, following the sports and whatever's going on. The Jake Paul, I was making comments and posting on his posts and other people's posts, and that's what really, really set me off. And I hit over 1 million in that one day just doing that. So I think it was 1 million. But that doesn't happen all the time unless you understand like how to tweak the system, what you're hitting and what you're doing. But that again, it will go against your brand and your niche and what you're building. So you have to take that into consideration and understand that it's going to be okay. You can clean it all back up and fix it. If anything, you're going to grow within there and you're going to learn a little bit more. But the main thing is, it's super possible, and getting into the right communities was honestly the biggest thing that helped me, and that was the Galactic Geckos. It's an NFT community. It's an NFT collection on the Solana blockchain. If you guys don't know about it, you can actually get an NFT, and it's called immortalizing this, where you basically burn it. You can't ever buy or sell it again. It's stuck with you for life, and that's just kind of where you brand yourself there. Once I got into that, I thought, okay, I'm here. Maybe it'll just kind of hit that switch and things will turn out. It still took effort, still took work. And that's where you go into the Discord. You start to connect with the people inside of that community, some of the friends you've already known, but you start to see a little bit of these layers that helps you accelerate this growth thing. There's some people that are like, freaking scientists when it comes to this, and they can do it in 6 days. I'm not that savvy and I have other things going on. I guess if you spent all of your time, you could do that. Some people do it without exhausting themselves and just doing mass amounts of replies and stuff. But that's the key, is you want to do a lot of replies. You got to be very consistent with replies, very low on your post. For me, I was always somebody that liked to post a lot, so that went against me. Once I realized, all right, let's keep this under like literally 6 posts a day, maybe even less, like 2 or 3, and hundreds of replies. And you try to make them good, you try to make them funny, try to make them engaging, but you're also going to have a slew of GMs and responses and simple stuff. But still, those little numbers add up. So you want to make sure your replies get to a point where you're getting hundreds and then thousands of interactions or impressions just off of that post. So you want to follow big accounts, comment underneath them as fast as you can. Little things like that. I can't give you all the juice because you're going to have to get into the Galactic Gecko growth group. There's tons of them on X too. You don't just have to get in there. But I think when you get into a core community such as the Geckos, that does help a lot as far as your growth and what you're trying to do and branding yourself. So that's all I got for you guys. And like I said, I got my first payout today. I'm super pumped about it. Took me a long ass time to get it. Just over 1,500 bucks. I will update you guys and let you know what the next one is, and kind of keep these rolling as far as the payouts, what's been happening, how I'm using the growth and just the platforms that I have to help boost that. Because if I can make that as close to a part-time job, that's a great little revenue stream that you kind of really forget about because you're already doing stuff out here anyway. So that being said, guys, I'm SMS. This is Solana Made Simple. If you got any questions, leave them down in the comments down below. But you guys can grow your X account too and start getting paid for just talking on the internet. When people used to say, put your phone away, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, now I'm getting paid for it. It's kind of funny how that works out. And fate loves irony, right? All right, guys, cheers.